Rugby Roots is brought to you by Compede Melbourne Nomad Sevens. Visit the top link in the description for more information. Well, welcome to Rugby Roots, a show in which we discover where our favourite players found their love for the game. This episode, I am joined by the Worcester winger, Tom Howe. Hello, Tom. How are you? You well?
Very well, thank you. Just woken up. The kids surprised me this morning. So they normally wake up at 6:30, and they're usually my alarm clock. And then they woke up at 9 today. So just out of bed, and so sort of I'm a bit unprepared.
No worries. Well, I know you're now back at training with Worcester. How excited are you to get back into things now?
Yeah, it's great. It's very different because obviously we're going back now in groups of 6. We've got to follow these like arrows which show us which direction to go, get our temperature checked as soon as we get there. But yeah, it's good to get back up and running. 3 months is a long time to not be at 6 ways, and was very weird being back there. But on a positive note, we also got to see Michael Fats on Tuesday as well, which was very special. So that was a nice welcome home present for all of us.
So I want to go right back to the start. Where does your passion for rugby and indeed your first rugby memory really come from?
So my dad was always into it. I mean, he was never pro or anything, but he used to drag us along to his veteran club called Chess Valley, who are a team in Rickmansworth. So me and my brother used to watch on the side there. And I guess probably came from that really. And then my parents dragged me down to Beckington Rugby Club. I was really eager to go. And then on my first day, they said I was too young because we got the date wrong, and I was applying for the year above, which we weren't allowed to do. So we had to wait a whole other year. And then I started when I was 5, and kind of fell in love with it really from day one.
Talk me through your relationship with rugby through your teenage years. When did it start to become a bit more serious for you?
So I was at RGS, who are obviously quite a good RGS Wickham, who are a very good rugby school. And I'd say I was pretty good, but until kind of, like you said, 13, 14, 15, when puberty kicked in, and I could catch up with these sort of kids who looked like adults at the age of 12. I guess that's when I kind of got a bit better. My speed improved massively. I remember coming back one summer, and I just suddenly was in the top 2 or 3 quickest people in the year, rather than being 10 or 11, I don't know. So that was pretty weird. I guess I was a late bloomer, as some would say. And yeah, that kind of, obviously rugby is quite a physical game, isn't it? So you need that side to you. And yeah, that helped massively, sort of developing into more of an athlete over summer.
Then things obviously during your late teens, you started to get a bit more serious. You spent some time with Wasps Academy. What was it like to have an inkling and have a look into an actual Prem rugby setup?
Yeah, that was cool. So there was like a small group of us. We did like the Wasps EPDG thing. So you're about 17, 18 then. And Wasps didn't have the gold, silver, bronze system. They just had 2 different academy sides. One was in one area, I think it was Buckinghamshire, and then the other one was somewhere else. And so we used to do that after school. We never saw the players at that point. That was just kind of like a separate academy setup. And then we did like an 18s league, and that was whether you were going to get your contract or not. So obviously a few of us got the contract, which was great. So after school we had our first sort of senior contract, if you like, and that's when you got to see sort of the players that you sort of watched on TV and at Adams Park back then. So that was really cool. And then yeah, kind of went from there really.
You then went and spent some time in the championship. What values or aspects of the game do you think you improved on in the champ, which you wouldn't have in like a typical academy or a development setup?
Yeah, sure. So I think it was my 3rd season. Yeah, so my 3rd season I was on loan at Jersey, which was amazing. Sort of previous to going, I was a bit iffy about going because it was obviously a long way. I was a bit of a mummy's boy. And then as soon as I landed, I kind of realised it was the right decision. Obviously, rugby-wise, you need game time, and you need that kind of bit of exposure. and confidence boost. And I guess I wasn't probably quite ready for the Premiership at that point, just because obviously the team we had at the time at Wasps was rather impressive, especially with all the signings that they made. And so, yeah, the jersey setup was great. It's kind of away from the family, so I could grow up a bit, live by myself with a couple of housemates. And obviously the rugby side was great too. In terms of values, it was just kind of the sort of playing regularly, really. Obviously, as a different bunch of guys, because I wouldn't say they're kind of full time. Some of them had jobs on the side as well. So it was just great to kind of nestle down, focus on the rugby side, but enjoy it as well. The game time was great as well. I kind of started most games. Really enjoyed my rugby, and when I came back, I actually really missed being in Jersey. Funny enough.
If any players right now are left in that position where it's obviously it's quite a bold move to leave an academy, a Premiership academy at that, where you could potentially be flung into a first team and be really successful. It's quite a bold idea to maybe miss those opportunities to go play more regular rugby. What advice would you maybe give to any players who could be in that position where they're offered a contract or some time lower down in the English leagues?
I'd say do it really. Just from my personal experience, I was kind of I wasn't getting the what's game time. They had too many good wingers there, and so I'm really glad that the coaches kind of took that out of my hands and put me on loan there. So my advice would be for any player really just to maybe go to the Championship or Nat 1, wherever it is, just get the game time. I know a lot of boys at Worcester are doing that. We used Moseley and a few other clubs, a couple in the Championship, so Hartbury. I definitely recommend going down to sort of a lower league, getting the exposure, getting the game time. Because also it's just a confidence boost as well. If you're playing no rugby and then suddenly get chucked into a Premiership match, it's not going to be the easiest thing really. So if you get 2 or 3 games in the Championship and then you get called into a Premiership game, at least you're going to have the confidence and match fitness really. You need to be playing. Your body needs to get used to taking the contacts as well. You can't just be doing fitness on a Saturday with the non-playing squad. You've got to go out there and play really.
Then you jumped into a Worcester team ready to impress. How would you describe your recent years at Worcester Warriors?
It's been really good fun, to be fair, and a lot more rugby than when I was at Wasps. Annoyingly, every Premiership club has good wingers. So when I first joined, it was Bryce Heem, and Josh Adams had his breakthrough year, which was amazing to see because it's kind of proves to anyone that if you put the hard work in and play good regular rugby, then anyone can kind of get to that international level. So it's quite cool to see that firsthand, really, especially Josh being one of my friends, seeing him develop into the player he is and getting the top try scorer name in the World Cup they had. First year was fairly tough, I guess. Took me a while to get my first game, and then my first game was against Breve at home. I think it was the first kind of game we won that season for a while, so that was quite nice to, as a team, to get the monkey off our back. But in terms of Premiership game time, it was on the lower side, but that was fine because it was my first year and I was still enjoying the rugby. And then second year, kind of things changed a bit as there were a few injuries. Josh obviously went to the Six Nations, that freed up a bit of game time. So around February time, I was kind of more of a regular starter in the Premiership, which was really cool and kind of what I was wanting and needing for the best part of my career. So that was good to have. And then obviously this year has just been absolutely crazy. Just can't predict it really, can you? So I guess I had struggled with a calf injury as well at the start of the season, which is a bit annoying because that kind of left me out of a few games. But with anything, if I miss a game, then there's more than a few capable wingers to slot in. So we never really struggled with that department. But obviously the season's been cut on hold, so we're still waiting to finish season 3 really.
You mentioned it there, but injuries. In a position on the wing, where it's such a pivotal position because you can make or break a game with scoring tries. They're obviously such a valuable position, and injuries, as you said there, you really seem to start picking up game time in season 2 of your time at Worcester, and the cogs started to really whir with you getting some first team matches. Then to get an injury and to kind of be to be left out the squad for a couple of weeks. Is there ever any worry or any doubt that you might turn around next game and your position has been snatched? I know that's obviously the cutthroat business that rugby players are in, but is there actually any worry or any doubt when you're on the sidelines and watching other players that you might see that like, oh, they're actually having a really good game? And is there any worry when that happens?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, you kind of we have that team culture, so we always want the best for any player slotting in. And just it so happened to be at the time when I got my calf injury. Nick David, especially this year, he got the chance on the wing just because I think 5 wingers were injured at the moment. And it's just something as simple as that, just having that bit of luck to get your starting spot. And then you just see, just gives the players opportunities and show anyone really what they can do. But I wouldn't say it kind of bothers me too much really, just because at the end of the day, you're playing with a bunch of mates. And so I think it's pretty selfish and sad if you don't want them to do well on the pitch at the end of the day. So it was good seeing Nick get his game time, and obviously he did really well. So when we come back to selection, I'll have to be fighting it out with him as well as the 4 other wingers. But yeah, it's more the long-term guys really. You get guys who have done their ACLs and Liz Frank this year, and they're kind of season-ending injuries. And I always find it really impressive how guys like that can bounce back, because I haven't really had one of them, touch wood. Yeah, because I haven't had one of them, always find it impressive how they bounce back. So yeah, like a 4-week calf injury at the end of the day in the grand scheme of a career is nothing really. And yeah, I always kind of want the best for, especially the younger guys who are coming up to get that exposure. Oh, sorry, my missus called me there. To get that exposure, because that's something that I was desperate for when I was in their position as an 18, 19-year-old.
In your first season at Worcester, you mentioned it there, the names that were flying around in that Worcester back line, people like Chris Pennell and Bryce Heem, who would have been really influential characters to be around. How pivotal do you think it is for a young player to be able to learn off such experience straight off the bat of coming into a Premiership club?
Yes, yeah, valuable really, and that's kind of one thing that you miss from a Championship club, I guess. In the Championship, you kind of maybe have to figure things out a bit more yourself, trouble solve your own problems. Whereas at Premiership clubs, you've got guys who have played for England and internationals. And so, yeah, if you ask them a question, they know that they're going to give you a good answer, really. Especially Chris, because Chris is such a lovely guy. He's, I have a lot of talks with him. Obviously, he's got kids as well, so it's good to find out how he copes with that as well. But because Bryce was in my position, and obviously he's a Premiership superstar when he was here. It was good to ask him lots of questions, get some advice. But at the end of the day, he's 110 kilos and absolutely rapid. So I'd ask him a question, just knowing that he's a freak and not everyone can do it.
And finally, any advice that you've got for any young rugby players watching?
Any advice? Just work hard, really. My career's been sort of revolved around a lot of patience. It hasn't really. It didn't really start for me as like an 18-year-old where I was like a Prem Rugby star, like Ted Hill, for example. He's just going to have an absolutely superb career, hopefully. Mine's kind of been more patience. Hard work, I'd say, and just sticking in there. Obviously, the Championship, go on loan, try and get some game time. That helped me massively, and just enjoy it really. I guess when I joined Worcester, it kind of made me enjoy my rugby a lot more. And at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying rugby, then there's no point doing it, because it's a game, it's a sport at the end of the day. So you should always enjoy it. And just have lots of fun and work hard.
Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you and hear about your rugby roots. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for the interview. Thanks a lot.
Thanks again to Compede Melbourne Nomad Sevens for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out those socials which are on screen right now. And thank you to you for watching. Make sure you check out @YoungRugby on Instagram for everything Young Rugby, and we'll hope to catch you soon. Bye bye.